JOLULIPA. If you heard that a country has had Miss Universe, Miss World, American Idol, The Voice, and Pulitzer Prize winners, Olympic medals, and a baseball world championship, not many countries will fit into that description, but certainly you will have to count more than 3. But if you add that from this country came the first Latino immigrant in the 1600s to the United States, only one can fit that description: the Dominican Republic. The people of the Dominican Republic are called Dominicans. Also, the nationals of the small island in the Eastern Caribbean, Dominica, are called Dominicans. But worldwide, Dominicans are recognized as a multi-ethnic people who originate from the Dominican Republic. Although the vast majority of Dominicans reside in the Dominican Republic, there is a major large Dominican diaspora, mainly in the United States and other countries in the world. The number of Dominicans living in the Dominican Republic is around 10.5 million people, although it is estimated that some 2.5 million Dominicans live overseas. This video will try to list the contribution of the Dominicans national around the world. The original inhabitants of the island that today host Haiti and the Dominican Republic were the Taínos, an Aboriginal group originally from South America. After the conquest, this was no more the reality of the island. They were no more pure Taínos. The people were a mix of Spaniards, Africans, and natives. Today, the genetic makeup of the Dominican population is estimated to be 52.15% European, 39.57% Black Africans, and 8.28% mixed Native American on average, according to recent genealogical DNA testing. Most Dominicans fall within 3 major ethno-racial groups. The last census conducted in the country estimated the population as 73% mixed race, mainly of European and African descent, 16% white European, mainly of Spanish and French descent, and 11% Black African. Dominicans have been known for both its immigration and emigration. Throughout its history, Dominicans have received people from many countries, both as immigrants and refugees. Dominicans have migrated around the world looking for better living conditions or just out of adventure. Before the 20th century, there were not many foreigners living in this island. At that time, you would only find the local races, mulattoes, Spaniards, and Africans. This changed in the following 100 years. In the 20th century, many Chinese Arabs, primarily from Lebanon, Syria, and some from Turkey, Japanese, and to a lesser degree Koreans, settled in the country, working as agricultural laborers and merchants. Waves of Chinese immigrants, the latter ones fleeing in the Chinese Communist People Liberation Army, arrived and worked in the mines and building railroads. The current Chinese Dominican population totals 50,000 and increasing. The Arab community is also rising at an increasing rate. In addition, there are descendants of immigrants who came from other Caribbean islands, including St. Kitts and Nevis, Dominica, Antigua, St. Vincent, Montserrat, Tortola, St. Croix, St. Thomas, Martinique, and Guadeloupe. They worked on sugarcane plantations and docks and settled mainly in the cities of San Pedro de Macorís and Puerto Plata. They have a population of 28,000. This immigration had an impact in the emigration of some Dominicans, as we will see later on this video. There is an increasing number of Puerto Rican immigrants in and around Santo Domingo. They are believed to number at about 10,000. Before and during World War II, 800 German Jewish refugees moved to the Dominican Republic, and many of their descendants live in the town of Sosúa. Nationwide, there are an estimated 100 Jews left. Immigration from Europe and the United States is at an all-time high. 82,000 Americans by 1999, 40,000 Italians, 2,000 French, 1,500 Britons, and 800 Germans. This is a chart of the population of foreign origin, excluding Haitians, in the Dominican Republic. Haitian immigration into the Dominican Republic has always been a contentious topic, not because Dominican independence came from Haiti, but because Haitian immigrants are perceived by Dominicans as coming to take away Dominicans' jobs or to do the same job for a lesser wage. And of course, there is a historical animosity between these people. The Dominican Republic, throughout its recent history, has got into international trouble for its policies regarding the Haitian immigrants that are seen by some as racist or the least discriminatory. This channel has made a video addressing that issue. The link is in the description box. The last survey conducted by the Dominican Republic says that there were about 500,000 Haitians living in the Dominican Republic. But if you add to these direct descendants of Haitians, you can safely say that in the Dominican Republic there is close to 1 million Haitian-born and Haitian descendants living within the territory of the Dominican Republic. In the late 20th century and the beginning of the 21st century, the immigration to the Dominican Republic has changed. Many Cubans fleeing the Castro regime, Colombians fleeing insurgency and violence, and many Venezuelans fleeing the Maduro's regime have arrived and established in this island. The Dominican immigration around the world is very well known and sometimes attached to a bad connotation, but this has not always been the case. The first recorded person of Dominican descent to migrate to what is now known as the United States was a sailor-turned-merchant called Juan Rodriguez. He arrived on Manhattan in 1613 from his home in Santo Domingo, which makes him the first non-Native American person to spend substantial time in the Manhattan Island. He also became the first Dominican, the first Latino, and the first person with European, specifically Portuguese and African ancestry to settle in what is present-day New York City. After this first establishment, Dominican immigration to the United States continued throughout the centuries. Recent research from the CUNY Dominican Studies Institute has documented some 5,000 Dominican immigrants who were processed through Ellis Island between 1892 and 1924. So Dominicans have been migrating well before many European immigration waves. But while these white immigrants were well received, Dominicans as of today are not seen as equal to other European immigrants in the United States. During the second half of the 20th century, there were three significant waves of immigration to the United States. The first one was just after the assassination of dictator General Rafael Leonidas Trujillo in 1961, a dictator of the Dominican Republic for 30 years. Many Dominicans, fearing reprisals from Trujillo's allies, migrated to the United States. In 1965, the United States and its Marines occupied the Dominican Republic and eased travel restrictions, making it easier for Dominicans to travel to the United States. The second wave was immediately after the occupation, from 1966 till 1978, during the quasi-dictatorship of Joaquin Balaguer, mostly for Dominicans fleeing political repression. Further arrivals from 1980 till today is due to families bringing other family members to rejoin them in the United States. After the 1980s, there were also a brain drain from many professionals who fled the Dominican Republic because of unemployment and inflation, and the rise of the value of the dollar. Today, immigration from the Dominican Republic to the United States remains high, facilitated by the social networks of now established Dominican communities in the United States. Besides the United States, significant numbers of Dominicans have also settled in Spain and in the nearby U.S. territory of Puerto Rico. Many descendants of those English-speaking Caribbean nationals who arrived in the Dominican Republic in the first half of the 20th century were recognized as citizens of these islands and therefore migrated towards them. Being Antigua and Barbuda and San Martin the main destinations, many Dominicans returned to other islands such as St. Kitts and Nevis and Martinique and Guadeloupe. In the 1990s, the Dominican economy was moved to the service sector, particularly tourism. Having been very successful on this industry, Dominicans receive well above 5 million visitors every year, with the consequence that some of these visitors stay and many others get married. And this has opened a way of emigration mainly to Europe and to a lesser extent to Canada. So you can find now Dominican communities in Switzerland, Germany, Italy, France, Great Britain, and many other European countries. Additionally to being the first immigrants to what is called today the United States, Dominican Republic has many other firsts in the American continent. The highest peak in the Caribbean, the first European settlement, the first city, the first cathedral, the first university, and the largest lake in the Caribbean. So, what has been the contribution of the Dominican diaspora in the world outside their country? Since the list is very long, and for the sake of time, we will only mention those who have an indisputable impact outside the Dominican Republic. Let's start with those that excelled in literature, beginning with the personal hero of mine, Pedro Enrique Sureña. He was a philosopher, humanist, university professor, and a literary critic who left his mark in the first half of the 20th century. He worked as a journalist in the United States, living in Washington and New York, and he also joined the faculty of the University of Minnesota, where he taught until 1921. He traveled all over the world, and these travels influenced his work and his thinking. He was the first Spanish speaker invited to teach at the Charles Eliot Norton Lectures from 1940 to 1941. As a result, he wrote and published Literary Currents in Hispanic America in 1945. He is the son of a very intellectual family in the Dominican Republic. His mother was a recognized writer and his father too. Also, his father reached the presidency of the Dominican Republic. If you want to see a Dominican at his best, you should read his works. They are in English and you can find it easily in the internet. My alma mater, where I studied engineering, carries his name, Pedro Enrique Sureña University in Santo Domingo. Other authors are Julia Alvarez, who wrote the bestseller In the Time of Butterflies, which later on became a movie, and Junot Diaz, the winner of the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction in 2008 and professor of creative writing at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. In the fashion industry, we have Oscar de la Renta, always proud of being a Dominican. In the movie industry, we have Maria Montes, the queen of Technicolor, Michelle Rodriguez, Zoe Saldaña, and that Latino woman in the TV series Scrubs, Judy Reyes. In art, we have Cándido Vidó, a recognized international painter, and who also was my teacher in my hometown of Bonao. As scientists and scholars, we have Victor Carreño, a NASA aerospace engineer, who holds the patent for the single-frequency multi-transmitter telemetry system, which today is still used as space communication. Kathleen Martinez, a criminal lawyer turned an unorthodox archaeologist and famous Egyptologist, which is known for the search of Cleopatra's tomb. Marcos Espinal, which is the current director of the Department of Communicable Diseases and Health Analysis at the Pan American Health Organization, and a scholar from the University of California at Berkeley, and has done work in many areas such as tropical and vector-borne diseases, HIV, hepatitis, tuberculosis, and STIs. In the realm of music art, there are so many that we will focus on the most international known ones. Eduardo Brito, a world-renowned baritone voice in the first half of the 20th century, and took to the stage in many countries performing operas and zarzuelas, and Juan Luis Guerra, who has sold over 30 million records and won 18 Latin Grammy Awards and 2 Grammy Awards. He is one of the most international recognized Latin artists of recent decades, and as many has put it, a Dominican gift for the world. Add to that the king of salsa, Johnny Pacheco. He coined the name salsa to denote the genre and created the Fania All-Star Band and Records, enough said. And the king of Venezuelan music, Billo Frometa, who created the iconic Venezuelan band Billo's Caracas Boys. And now let's talk about Dominicans in sports.
Sánchez, viene Sánchez, Félix Sánchez, el histórico Félix Sánchez se lleva la medalla de oro en los 400 metros con vallas.
En el Estadio Olímpico de Londres, su segunda medalla de oro.
Dominicans have excelled internationally in baseball, basketball, athleticism, boxing, volleyball, American football, and soccer. And although the list is too long for this video, some images and a little bit of merengue will say it all.
Sí, todos estamos parados aquí arriba. Rodney. ¡Sueña, Dominica! Termina el partido, victoria de la República Dominicana. Es el campeón del Clásico Mundial de Béisbol.
If you like the videos that we make here at JOLULIPA, Reason and Science, please consider supporting us in Patreon or by donating through PayPal. It would be much appreciated. The links for the contribution of your choosing are listed in the description box below. And thank you for your comments and subscriptions.